Hi there, and welcome to my podcast. I am Naida Alvarado, your podcast host of Beauty is in the Eye. And this is actually my first video podcast, and I'm so excited because today on my podcast, I have my good friends, an amazing sister in Christ, Reina Marcelle, who has an amazing story to tell you about her cake business. And I wanted to kick off the end of the year with this podcast because she has so many amazing stories and things to share about her business growing, what she's been up to lately, and just like pretty much she's about to bust out of the cake store that you have right now, right? Pretty much. So, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience?
Hi, how are you folks today? My name is Reina Marcelle, and I am the founder and the CEO of Reina's Cakes on Division and Rockwell 2550 West Division. I'm in the center of Paseo Boricua from Western to California. I'm smack in the middle of Humboldt Park.
In Chicago, Illinois. For
Yes.
those that are visiting or touring, if you would like to stop by her cake store, by all means, please stop by and have a piece of her cakes. They are amazing. And not only you don't do only cakes, but there's also you also do desserts. Can you share some of the desserts that you also have on here?
Not only do I have over 30 flavors of cakes that I make, but I also do vegan, gluten free. I do no nuts for people that are allergic to nuts. I do sugar free for diabetics or people that are cutting back.
There you go.
I also do cake for dogs, and but I have a variety of flavors, and I also do banana pudding. I do New York style cheesecakes. I do flan. I also do but my number one seller is tres leches. My second best seller is banana pudding, and then I could go on and on and on. Guayaba, coconut, strawberry, pineapple, almond cake, the almond cake that's a specialty cake from Puerto Rico. They call it's like a tres leches, but it's a all almond type of cake, and that's a wonderful seller. But I also, because of the seasons, I usually do make pies. So it's like we're getting close to Thanksgiving. So I also make pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie. And then if by special order, if you want anything that's sugar free, by all means, I can make you anything that's pretty much sugar free. So reach out to me. My number is 904-412-5338.
Awesome. And just in case you all don't know what flan is, it's pretty much Puerto Rican custard, okay?
Yes.
And it's amazing. I mean, all of our desserts in Puerto Rico are amazing,
Yeah.
but when they're made by the hands of this woman, they're out of this world. Can I tell you, she made the most beautiful and amazing cake for my birthday, which was just past November 10th. It's my birthday. And absolutely love butterflies. And she knows that I love butterflies. And I gave her, some things that I like. And so pretty much she created this cake, red velvet with buttercream. Oh my gosh.
Wick.
Butterflies, pearls, and these other sprinkles she put in there, and just the whole decoration. I mean, if I could show you a picture of the cake, I would, but unfortunately I can't. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and it tastes so amazing. So if you have a birthday coming up, an anniversary, or you want to celebrate a special day, she makes them in small sizes as well. My cake was not that big, but it was absolutely gorgeous. And then if there's a specification you want on the cake, let her know, and she will hook you up. That's all I gotta say. All right, Reina. And so I have some questions for you today, and pretty much, you have shared with me how your journey started in our first interview that I did with you about your cake business. But can you share just a little bit of the background, how you came about the business and how this idea came about and why cakes?
Okay. Well, first of all, I when I decided to start my business, I had well, my mother actually signed me up for a cake decorating class, and when I was 15, and so then I had no interest really, but I said to my mom one day, I said, "Well, Mom, why did you sign me up for the class?" She's like, "Because I like cake, and Hispanic people love anything sweet." But anyway, little did I know that once I took that class, it would totally be something I would do for the rest of my life. Um, And when I decided to start my business, I was when I went through a divorce. I was married for 25 years. From there, my kids were grown. And then I said, well, I came back to Chicago where I grew up. And I've always wanted to start my business here in Chicago. And when I did come here to the city, I realized that my both of my parents, my mom and dad, passed away. So when I looked at my life and said, well, I could be sad for the situation because my kids are grown, went through a divorce, now my parents are gone. Now what? So then I said, well, either I could be sad or actually say, you know what? Let me do something with my life. Let me be uh, an example to my children. Let me be inspirational. Let me be influential for my community. Somehow I said, you know what, let me do something. And it got to the point where I didn't have time to say, well, I got plenty of time to do that. It was now or never when I made that decision. So I said, well, when I decided to make the decision of cakes, I had worked retail for 3 years. I worked for Jules and I did their cakes. And one of the things that I got tired of is actually feeling like a number, feeling like I didn't do enough, feeling that if I made 100 cakes, they wanted 200. And if I didn't do 200, they wanted 300. It was just never enough. And I said to myself, I said, it was like I felt like if I dropped dead tomorrow, or yes, they would already have somebody replacing me, and it didn't really matter. And I said I really wanted to matter. I wanted to really show that that I had the talent, that I love making cakes, and I knew that I could not continue retail. And so once I made that decision, I said, well, how could I start a business without, well, first of all, owing anybody any money, yeah, or owing the bank? First of all, I was all alone now. And I said, no matter what, if I bought something or not, somehow I had to find a way to pay the money. So if you borrow from the bank, you're gonna have to pay back somehow, some way. They're gonna want their money. So I said, well, right, that's not something that I wanted to do. I wasn't prepared for that. I said, but I had the idea. So when I remember walking away from a full-time job, it was in the middle of a pandemic, and I was just tired again, feeling inadequate, feeling that I couldn't do a good job. So when I walked home, that one day I walked home and said, I'm done. And I went home and paid all my bills. And after I paid all my bills, I had $25 left over. And I said, well, what am I going to do now with $25? I knew I had the $25 in a heart full of dreams and a heart full of, I wanted to do something. I wanted to matter. So then I said, well, guess what? I know what I could do. I said, I'm right by the park. I said, I live on North Avenue, California. Humboldt Park is just across the street. I said, well, and I have no car. So then I said, how can I do something on my own? And I had to find no excuse for any reason why I couldn't do it. So then I said, well, I can get a carrito, and then I could buy the carrito. And then from that carrito, I can get it painted, get an artist to paint it for me. And then I'll get a beautiful umbrella from India. I said, because if I was going to make a cart, I wanted it to be where it was going to be the prettiest thing. Somehow I wanted to attract people, right? Attract people to come to this cart. And so when I made that decision, I remember it was on Mother's Day. I took my cart already ready, finished, with 100 cakes inside the cart. And there was days where I sold cakes, and there was days that I didn't sell any. But I learned to be consistent and faithful and believe that I had a dream and that I was going to be successful in that dream, no matter what it took and what it takes. And that's where I finally realized, hey, how bad do I really want it? I said, and I asked myself that question, how bad did I want it? More than I wanted to breathe. And then from then on, what I did is I went that direction and never looked back. And I am glad I made that decision.
Awesome. And how did you come about to find out what your niche was, your specialty? Once you got into the cake business, what was the favorite thing for you to do that you found? One day you said, you know what, this is what I want to do in order to make this business successful.
Well, what I think what really, really hit home was, first of all, because I made the decision of no success, no matter what, no excuse. And I think my niche was that I really believed that I had the best thing in town. I really believed that I sold the best cakes. I believed that I had something good. I believed that I could have reached everybody. I could reach people that were vegan. I could reach people that were gluten-free. I could reach people that are diabetic. I could reach people that, okay, so they don't want goodies, but they got a dog. So I said, why not make a cake for dogs? And then reach that community. And since I started at the park, I started to meet all the families. and I started to meet all the different people because when I went to the park for the first time, I didn't know anybody. And that was the hardest thing, is not knowing anybody, but trying to build a business without knowing anything.
Yes.
And so then I realized, you know what? I'm just going to let them know that I am here. And so every day I'd walk through the park and sell my cakes and sell my cakes, to the point where all of a sudden I started to sell them. And before I got the carrito, I started to go store to store until like my cart was ready. Mm-hmm. So I remember those days. Like I remember what it was like, anytime anybody's building a business, you're gonna hit some hard bumps in the road, Yeah. And you're gonna have days that are gonna be so fantastic, and you are just on top of the world. And then there's times where you'll sell, and then there's times where you won't. But the moral of the story of that situation is, so yeah, I didn't have a good day today, but that didn't mean quit or give up. Correct. I remember there was times where I'd walk through the rain with my little cooler and trying to sell a cake. I remember I had gone out for 4 hours, and I didn't sell not one cake. And I remember saying to myself, I refuse to go home until I at least sell one. Right. Till I sell one. And I just kept going and going and going to it. And I did sell. Matter of fact, I stopped at one place and God said, I'm not one. How about 5? And so then little things like that just said I had to make it. I said, for the sake of my kids, for the sake of the community, for the sake, because I saw that in the future. Yes. I saw that one day I was going to teach classes. Mm-hmm. I saw that one day I was going to be successful. I saw it, even though I didn't have $2 in my pocket or 20 cents. But I saw it, and I said, within 3 years, I am going to cut a ribbon. And I remember just saying it. And I told my kids I'm going to get carts every year, and so I can give people jobs. And then I just kept talking about it. I didn't have the sources for it, but I had a great God that one day He was going to give it to me. Yes, and I remember. I think on our first interview, I had mentioned to you that I saw you having a store, and that you were going to have many carts and stuff like that. And I feel like God is just positioning you little by little to get to all of the goals that you have set for yourself. And one of the things that I admire about you is that you have a tenacity like I've never seen in anybody. You do not give up, and you go at 100%. This is not a 50, this is 100%. If I don't put 100%, this is my livelihood. This is what I'm going to live off of. This is the way I'm going to reach people. And so it's just amazing that, even though you knew that you didn't have the resources at the time, that you did not give up on your dream, and that you pushed forward. I want also you to share with my audience something that you accomplished it's been a while, but you went to school. Can you share about that? Oh yeah, that's kind of great. It's great and exciting at the same time, but funny. I remember, I love to be honest. I love to be honest about everything, and then different situations. I don't want to picture everything like, oh, that was so perfect. No, in reality, this is exactly what happened. And people I've learned too, people like real stories and real things. Like, yes, really, that really happened, and bring it down to their level. Bring it down like, yeah, she's as human as I am. And I remember I went to Sunshine Enterprises Academy, and it was a 12-week program. And I said, hey, I'm not real good at technology. I'm not good at this and this and that. Maybe I can learn. How to do, videos. I don't know, just to promote my business and to go. How do I get my name out? And my thing was, I'm so old fashioned. I said, now everything's social media. Yes. But I didn't know all the social media things. And so I remember that I said, well, I could wear my product. I could make shirts. I could wear jacket. I could make other people wear my shirts. I can wear, and dogs can wear my shirts. And I said, that's how I would advertise. I put it on mugs. Why not? And so and I said, that's how I started. And I was doing that. And then I said, well, you know what? I think I'm going to go to school. So I can at least learn how to budget or whatever I needed to learn, so I did. And I remember that I got a phone call, and they said, hey, Reina, that the school called me and said, we want you to know that congratulations, you have reached all your requirements. And then they said, oh, and by the way, it's anonymous. We want you to be the motivational speaker for your graduation. And I said to my teacher, I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, you must have got the wrong number. Because I said, I would cry every time I left your class, because there was so much information, so much to learn, and it was so much to take in. And I felt like, man, I was really struggling. But I said, but I did learn some little nuggets, but it was like, I said, wow. Um, and so then I did the speech and so forth, and it was awesome. And so I have this thing inside me. I love to just sell. I may not know technology, but I can sell you a cake. I can sell you a cake. I can advertise it, whatever you want. And I remember that it was graduation, and they had vendors there. And when they had the vendors there inside the lobby, they couldn't sell food. So I said to myself, well, you know what? Can't sell food inside. I said, but they didn't say I couldn't sell outside. I do have my peddler's license. So I remember that I parked my truck, and I have a wheelchair ramp. And I remember pulling out all my cakes, and I was selling my cakes on the graduation, really, which was awesome because I sold out. And what was incredible about all that, it was in me. I said was always being a hustler. I was always selling them cakes, trying to get my name out, trying to let people know I am Reina and I make the best cakes in town. And then a couple weeks ago, Sunshine Enterprises reached out to me again, and they said, Reina, we cannot stop talking about your success and what you're doing, and we want you to be part of our panel. We want other people to hear your story. And so I found that just an honor.
That's amazing.
And I said, who would have thought that I'd be standing in front of people telling it? I used to tell myself one day, because I would be crying through the street sometimes and saying, God, this is so hard, so much work. But one day I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to help a lot of people. And I used to say it and say it.
Yes.
One day I'm going to help a lot of people. And I just kept really thinking that I was going to do it. And when I did that, when I was standing in front of that, I was one of the speakers on their panel. I saw myself looking out in the crowd, and here I'm standing there and they're asking me how I did it. I'm going, if you only knew, if you only knew that the struggle.
She's a celebrity at her school.
And so it's just incredible. And then I did the one, and I did it over in at the Ion building there in not Roosevelt, at Randolph. I think it was. Well, everybody know, if you're from Chicago, it's a beautiful building, very known in downtown, and asked me to speak there. Then a week later, they said, we want you to come back and speak to our bigger crowd. So I was able to do that. It was an honor, make cupcakes and so forth. But I got to rewind just for a second. When she said, what was my goal? I made a goal in 3 years that I was going to cut a ribbon. And last Mother's Day was my 3rd year anniversary, and I cut a ribbon. Yeah. So from when I started to cutting the ribbon, I have 3 carts. I have 2 with wheels, one that's portable that travels with me, and then my store. And so
you're making me cry.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Because I start talking about it, and when I go back and remember all these things, and I started the classes. I teach it. I have no age limit in my classes. I teach decorating. Why? Because I remember when I went to that class, and maybe if I can get an entrepreneur or a dreamer or someone that wants to be a chef or someone that's just going to be great, and if I can reach them from my class, then I've done my job.
Classes sell out quick. Whenever she announces she's putting these classes together, they fill up really fast.
I can hold a class for 25
if you ever want to do one for a birthday or just a fun day for kids or whatever, or you just want a day to get together with your sisters, and do a cake decorating class, she's the person to get in touch with. I mean, you guys are gonna have so much fun, and she does amazing things. She provides everything for you. Of course, there is a fee to sign up, and that's okay, because as a business and an entrepreneur, in order for you to be a successful person, you have to charge for your services in order to invest right back into your business to continue growing it, right? So she's doing that, and not only that, but she's getting invitations from all over the place. There's people that are coming from all over the world. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's what I marvel at, from something so small. See, I was very content with just my one little cart. But God said, you're not made to be small. Mm-hmm. I got a better plan for you.
Yeah.
And as I open my shop, I can't explain there's teenagers that come from Clemente High School. I find myself where kids are revolving around me and my shop, and giving them a place of safety. And from there, there's people that are seeing these videos. See, I may not know technology and not good, but all the people around me know a lot of it, and they've really been a blessing, and they put stuff out, and they've come into the store. And I find myself not only do I love and make my cakes, but I also find myself as a ministry. Like I'm ministering to these people that come into my shop, and I'm ministering to their needs. For somehow I find myself helping these people like a spiritual hospital, and they come from all over the country, and it just blows my mind. I had a guy that came from London. I had a family that came from New Zealand. I had people that said, "I saw your video. I saw a whole family from Oregon," and I'm like, and I believe if they come here to Chicago to visit their family and they make the effort to come to my shop, then they were meant to come through my shop.
I'm sorry, but I believe that Reina's gonna be the next cake boss. You guys know Carlos' buddy. She's gonna be the next cake boss, and you're gonna see her story on Netflix. Because I mean, her story is just amazing, and I believe that she's doing so many amazing things, and God is doing so many things. And one amazing fun fact that a lot of people don't know about Reina is that she was the pastor's wife. So she has that pastor, the woman pastor nurturing side of her. She has that gift in her. So everybody that comes across her can't help but fall in love with her and just be amazed at the way that she is, her character, the way that she loves on people, the way that she pours over people. And I mean, I've never seen her upset about anything, and she always finds the good things about every situation. It doesn't matter. Like for instance, today we made plans to get together, and both of us completely forgot that this is the Thanksgiving week. So we didn't even know what we were thinking getting together, right? And we're thinking to ourselves, why is there so much traffic? Why is this craziness? But every time we try to get together, there's always some kind of opposition. Right. And I believe it's because the enemy doesn't want us to get together. Because we always talk about the goodness of God and about all the great things that God is doing in our lives in general. And the enemy doesn't want us to share that with the world, because the enemy wants to keep us bound and wants to keep us entrapped in our own minds and just crazy weird thinkings. For instance, depression, and maintain yourself in unforgiveness, animosity, and all of that craziness. And we do not want people to stay in that mindset. We want people to be free. And one of the ways that I like to do that is by sharing people's stories, just like Reina, because Reina started practically from nothing. If you think about it, $25 nowadays, you're lucky if you could buy a gallon of milk and butter and bread these days, because it's just everything is so expensive. And the fact that she had $25 and she saw something, she had an idea, she had a gift, because she clearly has a gift for it, and she went for it. And she didn't say, "Oh, I can't do nothing with $25." She saw the bigger picture, and she was tenacious. She continued to do it. She pushed forward. Did she have some bump in the roads? Did she have to go through some obstacles? Listen, this woman has had people come during the night and drop baskets in front of her house with money and letters from a singer even came by and dropped a basket in front of your house, and then gave her a song that he referenced, and she listened to the song. And I mean, people are just, I'm telling you, everybody is just drawn to her, and I believe it's because of her spirit. She has such a sweet heart, and she has such an amazing story that people share. Can you share your story about the young lady that came to your store and is helping you now do something very special?
Yeah, there's so many stories. I think that's what's exciting, is that these are things that have really happened. And one of the podcasts, I'm going to say something because I want people to understand too, that there's going to be times that you'll do certain things and you'll feel like, does God know that I'm really going through this, or does God acknowledge my hurt, or does He's not? Like sometimes we get discouraged. You know what I've learned? I've learned it for myself, is I learned to encourage myself. I learned to, when I'm down, how do I encourage myself? Because what I used to do is, I still do it, is when I'm discouraged about something or whatever, I always go back and look at my videos of stories that I tell, and I would say to myself, "Oh my God, who is this person speaking?" And I said, "Wow," I said, "How dare me gripe and complain about certain things when God's been so good to me, and yet here God uses me to encourage other people. But at the same time, it's just teaching me that I'm human, and so I've learned to encourage myself. There's certain songs I'll listen to encourage and light me up. One of the biggest songs I really listen to, maybe it has nothing to do with what I do, but it just has a great title to it.
Right.
It says, "I dreamed a dream," and that song, I'll often listen to it just to remind me I did dream a dream and I was reaching that dream. So anytime you make goals and want to do something with your life, don't give up. Don't get discouraged. There's going to be people that are going to be happy for you, and there's going to be people that are not. Right. I remember one day I was pushing my cart, and this guy I don't know if he was just having a bad day or what, or I bothered him. For some reason, I bothered him. He said he would watch me every weekend from his window. He says, I watch you every week on Division Street pushing your car. He goes, I don't understand why you do that. And I go to myself in my head, I said, first of all, it shouldn't even bother you. You're not the one. I said, you're not the one pushing it, Right. And he said that to me. And I said, I said to him, I said, I know. I said, you may not be pushing this cart, but I am building a foundation to my business so other people will push my cart in the future, and then someday I will give these folks some jobs. And God knows my heart. This person doesn't have to know that he's the one that told me that. When he said that to me, it made me more determined. It made me say, I am definitely going to do it.
There you go.
To show him it can be done. Right. And so this day, I cut that ribbon in front of my store, which, remember, knowing nobody, to over 400 people in front of my store when I cut the ribbon. This guy that said those things to me, he said to me, he had walked into my store, and he goes every week. He brings his dogs. He's diabetic. He buys my sugar-free cakes, and it just humbles me to show God just showing to me that he doesn't even have to know what he did. And I just watch and say, God is so good. It was meant for me to hear that, because that inspired me to say, I am going to do it no matter what. And so God has brought teenagers through my store. Like I said, I find myself as just helping and influencing people. And I've been battling about writing a book, because people keep telling me, right, you need to write a book. There's people that you can help that are wanting to be entrepreneurs, but they're afraid, or there's no money. And, why do people not start businesses? Money and fear, which is true. Money, because no why. Fear, because you're afraid of failing. I didn't have a choice. If I fail, I fail, but at least I could die trying not to fail. Yes. And so this girl comes into the shop, and she says, and I could tell that she was kind of down, but she said, how did you do this? And I'm going, I said, me and God, really. And I said to her, well, and I started to tell her about my story. How I started, I was a street vendor to a store. To owning your own store. Owning my own store within the 3 years. She left. After I told her my story, she left. She was, thank you so much, blah, blah. 2 or 3 days later, she came in with her mother. And when she came in with her mother, I have pictures on my wall, because the pictures on my wall, it tells a story of people that I've met at the park, people that I've done events for, people that I've done, that have visited my store, people from all over the country. And so she was standing there looking at those photos, and the mother said to me, I don't know what you said to my daughter, but thank you very much, because she is an entrepreneur, and now she's going to continue on her journey to what she was really supposed to be doing. Awesome. And then the girl looks at me, and she says, oh, and by the way, I brought you a gift. And she said, here, I wrote a book, and a book of poems. And I said, that's it. She's going to help me with my book. I said, because I don't know, but God puts the right people in your life. That's right. And just little things like that show me. I'll tell you this. People are so wonderful in the Humboldt Park area. Matter of fact, all over. People come from all over. Yeah. I have people that come, like, that's just last week. Friday night, I had the store open. Lady comes in with chicken and a big box of eggs and said, I thought you could use this. I mean, people all the time. I said, that's why I'll never be skinny, because people feed me, people bring me food. It's incredible. I love my job. That's amazing. I love my job. Because God knows your need, and he fills it. Oh, he does. And I can tell you over and over and over again. Sometimes there's times where I'm like, God, I don't understand certain things that I'm doing, but I'm listening to you, and I'm gonna go. I like your plan always better than mine. I don't. The last, I think it was the last one or the one before. I told the story of how I got my vehicle. Remember, I didn't have a car. I didn't have. I walked everywhere. I did my own deliveries. I went to my events, and I found it to be very challenging. Very like there was times where I'd walk so many hours, and I'd go up my stairs and say, "God, it was such a good day. I can barely walk, but it was such a good day." And I always gave him thank you. And I always gave him the honor and the glory because I could not do what I do. You know what, matter of fact, we don't deserve his we don't even deserve his air, but he's kind enough to let us breathe. Yes. You know? Yes. I mean, I believe that walking with God is very important in everything that you do. And I'll tell you another story. I had told the story about how I got my vehicle, and how a family had watched me through the park and met a lady and said, I went to a lady's office and left me a check there. And I've been begging and asking God, my business is growing. I need a vehicle. I need a vehicle. I don't know what else to do. I can't take the little money that I make and give it to the people that help me because it's so hard. You know, I had to pay people to borrow their truck, or they use their truck to take my carts to go to these events. And then, you know, you probably, like I said, you probably heard the story, but it's just such a good story. How I was discouraged, day of Thanksgiving. I was missing that feelingness of loneliness. Yes, we have God, but we're such humans. Sometimes we want flesh, like we want to be able to see, like we know He's there, but we need flesh, like we want to see it. And I remember at that Thanksgiving day, I had 3 deliveries to deliver, and I said, and I was just really beating myself up. I miss my family, I miss my kids. And I said, stop griping, Reina. Go out there and be a blessing. So I got my little wagon, put all my stuff in the wagon, my 3 oars, and a beautiful Christmas tree. I said, let me find a family, let me be a blessing. So great day, wonderful, made everybody happy. It was great. I come back home and whine some more. I said, God, like it's like I almost felt like God, don't forget me. You know. But that's called reality. That God lets us feel that loneliness. Why? So we can rely on Him. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and I said, okay, God, I'm gonna stop griping. Just take care of my family. So then that was on a Thursday. On Tuesday, I get a phone call. And it was a lady that I knew, not very well, but I knew her. And she said, Reina, I just want you to know a family came into my office and left you a check. And I said, what was that? I said, a check. I said to myself, people don't give out money. Yeah. And I said, a check? She goes, yeah. The family wants to stay anonymous. And they said they want you to know that you're a good woman. They see you every week at the park for hours and hours and selling your cakes. No. And that you're a hard worker and they want to be a blessing to you. Wow. And then they left a check for $8,000 in that office. Wow. And you know what? Think about it. It was enough money to not only buy a vehicle, register the vehicle, get a wheelchair ramp behind my truck so I can take my own carts. And the moral of the story, I got to see my family. I turned and I realized and I said, how dare me, God, gripe and complaining. But it just shows you His grace is sufficient. Yes. He shows me, Mamita, I always told you I got your back. Then I had the vehicle for a week, for a year and a half. And then this year, Bandera, I was getting ready in my shop. I was getting ready for the weekend. And this was on Saturday morning. I got a phone call. I got home about midnight. I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, a police officer called me and said, I just want you to know your vehicle was in a hit and run. And I was like, what? In a hit and run? And it was interesting. Out of all the cars parked on my street, my car was the one that was hit. The car was hit so much, the impact had flipped the other car over. He said it must have been a hit and run. And I said, okay. He goes, I'm in front of your house. And I said, okay, I'll be right down. Before I opened my door, because remember, I don't know what happened and I don't know what I'm about to see. And I said, the first thing I said, thank you, God Almighty, for the vehicle and for the little time you gave it to me. Yes. That I was able to reach people, deliver it, do classes, do events, be speaking in certain places. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I come out, well, anyway, the car was totally totaled. And so then I called my insurance. And this is, like I said, I love God's plan better than mine. When I claimed the insurance and so forth, they gave me enough money of what I've spent on the vehicle. So I go to this car dealer. I had bought a 2011 Honda Pilot. That was my first truck. Then I get the money, got the check. I got to go get another car for my business. So then I go to this car dealership, and there was a Honda Pilot white sitting there, and I know that was for me because I went over, and it's funny because I had a 2011, but the one that I saw was a Honda Pilot 2012. Bought it, paid for it, and I look back and say, isn't God, he has such a sense of humor? It's like he reminded me, Mamita, you had a 2011, I give you a 2012, you just needed a bigger car. And it was so amazing because I didn't have to pay a dime, but that's how God works. He's so incredible. He reminded me, I got your back. Because I can't explain it any other way. I didn't have a man giving me money. I didn't. I was just consistent and faithful and like doing my duty.
Yes.
But yet my duty was beyond. God said, Mamita, you're gonna help so many people.
Yes.
Who would have thought?
Definitely.
I mean, I just start thinking, who would have thought?
Right.
That people are now looking for me. I speak in so many different places. I'm just beyond honored.
And he is amazing in the way that he shows up and he does
It
things
is.
and the way that he's provided for you up until this moment.
Yes, yes.
Because it's just been an incredible ride for you.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that you're going to have a better, bigger place where you're not gonna have to worry about, ovens or everything's just gonna be in there for you. So
I know that it is. Sometimes I think about it. I mean, it's amazing just dreaming about it.
And not only do I see you selling your cakes, but I also see you having like a little cafe, with the little coffee, and
I see it. I see it.
Yes.
I see it. My cakes being distributed all over the country. Cakes, I see my cakes everywhere. I see it. I see just that it's just awesome thinking about it. And then since I see all these young people and teenagers and families and couples that take my classes and the children and how I've helped people through my cakes.
And who knows, it might become a Reina's Cakes franchise.
Who knows?
Would you be able to,
I know, so excited.
Buy it and set up your own Reina's Cakes?
I'm excited.
That would be awesome. So I believe that God is still going to continue to do amazing
absolutely.
things through you.
And that's like you said, that's why, I don't know if I did say it, that's where the book is going to come in. My goal is, my dream is to have my book ready for my year anniversary. The book is it's going to be an inspirational book. It is to inspire young people to dream and couples to dream. Never too late to be entrepreneurs. Hey, I was 50 when I started everything. It was now or never. So that's what the book is, and it's just going to be full of real stories of different people I've met and different people, how I got through it. And the book. I mean, I still sit down and I write, and the tears it just brings back to what a struggle.
Yes,
but yet God's so good.
God is so good. Yes,
it's just because there's no other way to explain His greatness. It really is. And then my children alone,
they've been very supportive.
They have been, again, just like how did I got my first cart, and then I have to tell you how I got the second one. I always told my kids, and every time my kids called me, it was always positive. I never wanted my kids to feel worried about me on the street. I didn't want my kids to be feeling like, Mom, is why you out there for so long. I didn't want them to worry. So every time they called me, it was always positive. I'm good. Mm-hmm. Even if I didn't sell a cake.
Even though you were dying, right?
Right. And I said, I'm going to have a lot of carts one of these days, and I'm going to have my cakes all over the country and on the city. And I used to always think big, big, big. And I remember I got a phone call from my kids, and all three of them called me, and they said, hey, Mom, and they know how I feel about taking their money. I don't like taking their money because I always think that they need it more than me. And I remember my kids saying, Mom, we know how you feel about taking our money. And then my middle one's the one that did the talking, and she had kind of an attitude. And I said, you got attitude? She goes, I don't care what you're going to say today about our money. But anyway, she said, Mom, we just want you to know that we sent you $1,700 so you can buy that second cart, so you'll have enough to buy it, get an artist, and get another beautiful umbrella from India for your second cart. And you know how when you use Zelle money to, I bought a dress, or I bought shoes, I bought a table. Mine said, they Zelled me the money, and it said, Mom, go be great. So I had to be successful for my own family, for my own kids. And it just was a domino effect. I mean, I can go on and on and on. That's why there's going to have to be a part 2 in my book. and a part 3. Just like we're doing the podcast. I've already done 2 with you, right?
Yes, like I think this is like our third one.
Yeah, and
But
so
this
every
is,
time
yeah.
it's just remarkable.
But I wanted it to be special this time. I wanted to do the first video with my podcast with her story because her story is just that amazing. And I feel like a lot of people during this time, especially, have to hear her story because around this time, a lot of people start to feel down, downcasted on themselves. Maybe because they did have a failed marriage, they did have a failed business, they did have a failed, they were not able to complete school or whatever the reason is. You lost your home, you lost your job, and during this season, it's really hard to be festive about anything when you're feeling downcasted. Right. But when you listen to stories like Reina and how she began, with very little, and to see everything that God has done and is still doing in her life, it is very, very amazing. And I feel like don't give up on your dreams and don't worry about your age because let me tell you, Samuel L. Jackson did not become an actor until he was in his 50s. There's a lot of people that didn't start a lot of things so they were way later in their lives. I heard a story once of a little old lady that was 100 years old and she went back to school and she got her diploma. And that might not mean a lot to people, but that was a goal that she had set for herself and she was not able to complete it because other things got in the way and she got her diploma. And I went back to school when I was in my 40s and I was able to graduate and obtain a degree. And it's always been my dream to go to college and obtain a degree. I have not gone back to finish because college is so expensive and I feel like nowadays it's so overrated, but I did accomplish that dream. And you know who were the supportive people on my side of the ring? My husband and my children. They were the ones who supported me and they said, Mom, go for it. Most recently, I was having a conversation with my youngest daughter and she shared with me how, how I should pursue my dreams and not to give up because she knows that I love arts. I love anything that has to do with the arts. I do arts and craft. I paint. I sing. I am a recorded artist. For a lot of people that don't know, I do have 3 songs out right now. Check them out on YouTube. I have one is Eres Como Lluvia, which is a ballad style. I have Eres Como Lluvia in salsa style, and my producer Nelson Lewis collaborated with me in that one. And I also did a cover on Lauren Daigle's "You Say" in salsa, and it's in English. So if you want to check it out, they're on YouTube. And also Nelson Lewis, shout out to Nelson Lewis, my producer, who also did "You Say" in the salsa style in Spanish. You have to check it out. So I have amazing people on my side. You have to have people around you that are going to help you edify and grow in what you like. And one of the things that my daughter was telling me, I had shared with her how when I was younger, one of my dreams was to become a fashion designer. I wanted to sew because I love sewing. And so when I graduated high school, I filled out an application for a school that I dreamed about going to. And when I submitted the application, I got a rejection letter stating that I wasn't what they were looking for their school. So that kind of like busted my bubble as to what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I couldn't find a direction. And so now that I've gotten older, I found what my niche is, and it's art. Anything that has to do with the art, my singing, photography, painting, arts and craft. And my daughter, for my birthday, they bought me a journal, and this journal is to help me come up with fashion designs, and it has the mannequin sketched on all the pages. It gives you a breakdown of the lingo, the fashion lingo, what everything means, measurements and everything. And she told me, Mom, now you have no excuse. Start designing your fashion. I was like, oh my goodness. So I just been like, just wondering. I have so many ideas that are starting to bubble up in my mind. So I just have to put it on paper. But one of the things that is one of my heart and soul is the singing. So I'm going to continue to pursue that. Absolutely. So just like my sister here is continuing to pursue making her business great, we encourage you. She encourages you not to give up on your dreams. And as we close up, can you share with my audience what is your words of encouragement to them to not give up on a dream. I know that sometimes people just like kind of like put it in a like a kind of like a little chest, or maybe they put it in a book and they put it in a shelf, so to speak. Well, what would you I tell those people?
This is what I would tell them. This is not the first time that I started my business. I had started my business 3 times, but because of the ministry and moving and so forth, and just certain situations, or matter of fact, more life sets in.
Obstacles, right?
And so after the 3rd time, I said, I will never dream again. It's just not for me. So I took that dream and put it away for a very, very, very long time. But when I finally dreamed it back again, it came out again, or it's like a pot with a flower in it. When you water it, it'll grow. If you don't water it or put what it needs, the nutrients, it's not going to grow. And I remember when I put that dream away, because I said, I just said, I'm not going to think of myself. I am just going to do what I'm supposed to do, or just be a mother, and what my priorities were in my life. So when I lost everything, so to speak, or was down at the bottom, I could have stayed down there. I could have been like, well, woe is me. This is my lot in life. And I said, but I refuse. I refuse to stay there. I refuse to be a nobody. I refuse to not be something. Whether it was the best mother, or whether it was the best actor, or the best singer, but I was determined to be that. And I remember when I said, it started to poke in my heart, and I said, oh my God, I'm starting to business again.
Go ahead.
Okay. When I started, when I decided to start the business again, I'll never forget one of my kids were like, yeah, Ma, you should do it. That's all we know since we were kids. You always wanted to have your own business, and that you always taught us. And I taught my kids home ec. So I was already implanting those things in my kids, even though I put the dream away. But then I started to So I started to see my life and say, you know what? That's it. I'm going to dream again, and I am not going to fail this time. And I'm not going to put it away in a drawer, and I'm not going to forget about what I was meant to be. And I believe with all my heart that is my purpose. I wake up every morning, no, my purpose is to help people and make cakes and make everybody happy. Even the crankiest person loves a cake, regardless of what he says. So yeah, my advice to you all is, no matter how late you think it might be, or maybe how old you might be, or I should have done that in my 30s. No, you can still do it in any age that you are. Just know that you can. Don't give up on yourself that easy. It was With everything that we've learned in life, it's made us better people. It either makes us better or bitter. Yes. I know I didn't want to be bitter. I wanted to be better. So I took the challenges in my life and said it made me the person that I am. Take those qualities and use them to become what I'm supposed to be. And that's why I feel that I know my purpose. My purpose is to be the cake lady of Humboldt Park, and to brand my store as Reina's Cakes. That is my dream, and you continue to dream your dream and stay focused and stay successful, because if you want to be successful, you can. That's even right. With $25.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Reina, for sharing your story. And I'm pretty sure that some people are probably in tears right now listening, because they probably had a dream that they put away.
Absolutely,
and
I know that.
I'm hoping that you sparked that little fire in them to go back and pursue that dream. Absolutely. Whether it be going back to school or starting a cupcake business, a cake business, whatever it is. I hope that she sparked that inspiration in you again. Thank you so much. Sorry for the interruption. Seems that my husband's trying to get in touch with me while I'm trying to do a podcast through my phone. It's the only way that I can do my podcast for now. But, everything starts simple and then it gets better.
Yes, it
so
does.
I count this a privilege and an honor to be able to sit down with this amazing woman and to be able to share her story and to be her friend, because when she blows up, I'm already her friend. So I see her on TV. I know her. I know her. She's my friend. Yes. I love her so much. And I haven't known her for a long time, but I feel like I've known her for years. She's that kind of person. Once you meet her, you feel like she's been like you've been friends like for years. I kid you not. That's the way she makes me feel. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for everything that you do.
Thank
and
you.
for being such an amazing friend and woman of God, and for inspiring so many people. Now we can say around the world.
Around the world. That's right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to Beauty is in the Eye podcast. Again, I am Naida Alvarado, your podcast host, and my guest today is Reina Marcelle. Thank you so much for listening to our amazing story. Until next time, and keep watching for next year for new episodes. I'm going to be kicking off the year with new episodes, and hopefully we'll have another interview about her book that is it's in the oven right now.
That's right.
So when it's out and about, we will be doing an interview about that and talking a little bit about that and the inspirations that people have received by reading the book. And I'm sure that we're going to hear some great stories. So stay tuned for that as well, for her book. And also, I'm going to be writing a blog on her and posting of some pictures in regards to her, her business, her cakes and everything like that. So keep a watch out for that. I will be posting that or posting a message on my podcast when the blog is up, so you guys can check it out and also share it with people that you know that need a little inspiration with their business.
Or anything I've said that has helped them.
Yes,
it'd be great feedback.
In the beginning of the podcast, she does place her. She said her number, but if you want to share your phone number again, if anybody lives in the Chicago area and you want to make a cake for any occasions,
yes. I'm right smack in the middle of Humboldt Park. Again, my address is 2550 West Division Street. It's on the kitty corner of Division and Rockwell. And my number is 904-412-5338. And I'm closed Monday and Tuesday, but open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If my shop is closed, it's because I'm in an event or I'm also having a class. So please reach out to me. Like I said, cakes for all occasions, even for your pets.
So you have her number. Now you don't have an excuse. All right. Until next time. Take care. Bye-bye.